In this session, we will dive into a proven AI content system that will help you never miss a day of posting if you truly implement it. You learn the exact content machine workflow, how to build your audience profiles that convert, and the AI repurposing tricks that turn one piece into weeks of content. And if you struggle with consistency, like many of us, this system will change everything for you. And with me today, I have Hrabren Lindfors, which he shared his story about kind of how his name came to be and everything. It's very interesting. I'll let him speak about that. But he has hundreds of thousands of followers on his Instagram now. He's posting more on LinkedIn as well. And I've seen his content pop up quite a lot. So that's why I wanted to invite him to this session to share his proven framework for how to do this. And he's pretty well known for never missing a day of posting. I mean, he posts every single day. He's very, very consistent. And he has a lot of different tools and frameworks he's going to share in this session. So with that being said, warm welcome.
Thank you so much for the great introduction. And I am incredibly blessed to be sharing with our audience my whole methodology in terms of consistency, because the truth is that everyone can hustle their way to consistency. It's not really that difficult. You can spend thousands on content systems, you can hire an army of VAs, and you can leverage AI to do that. But it's really difficult to achieve consistency with ease, which is my goal. I don't really want to have social media being my second job. I want to enjoy my lifestyle business that I've spent so much time building. And thus, for me, it's incredibly important to build systems that keep things lean and mean. And I'm going to show our audience exactly that. Essentially, everything that I have built thus far in 5 years of not missing a day posting on social media across multiple channels is going to be reviewed today, as well as really applicable steps that everyone who is watching us can take today. I also have prepared some resources at the end of the session, so anyone who wants them can also get access to them. So I'm really excited to start diving in. Just give me the sign and let's get started.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, before we do, I think you must be one of the top in Finland, at least, in terms of followers in social media. I mean, you can tell us a little bit about your backstory. It's quite interesting before we dive in.
Absolutely. So I started my social media marketing agency a decade ago. And I first started out freelancing. I was alone doing projects, and the first projects weren't very elaborate. So I was getting paid $150 for social media management for a whole month worth of work. So it was quite difficult to get by. But as I started quite young, I was still in my teenage years. That was more than enough motivation to keep me pushing and to keep improving my skill set. And then slowly, with time, I was able to build a reputation for myself because I always strive to over-deliver and to provide more value than people were expecting, something that I will try to do in this presentation as well. From that point onwards, I started hiring contractors, and by that point, it was 6 or 7 years ago that I actually started establishing my agency with more contractors, serious corporations, and collaborations with some of the biggest companies in the world, such as UNICEF, Cambridge Coding, etc., etc., etc. But with time, I also started realizing that there was one really specific type of customer I loved working with, and that wasn't really the huge corporation, which was sending me 100 pages of strategy documentation to read through and guidelines and everything. I didn't really enjoy my time in the corporate world. What I did enjoy, though, was working with experts, people who truly had something meaningful to share with the world, and I saw my impact on their world and on their work as a domino effect. So if I only could help them get 10% better in the way that they communicate on social media, they can impact 10% more people, and that would start this snowball effect that I was really motivated on achieving. So in the last 5 or 6 years, I have been building my own personal brand and helping other experts build theirs. We've been able to accumulate more than 8 million followers for my clients, 800,000 for myself, and in the process create more than 20,000 content pieces. So you can see that with a system like that and expertise and experience building up this workflow, I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of practical tips that can help give you clarity in today's landscape, because we are in a place in which the average content creator doesn't stay active on a platform for more than 18 to 36 months. So between a year and a half and 3 years. And when you build something, you hustle really hard, and then at one point you just figure out, okay, I'm burnt out or I cannot really sustain that. It really starts feeling anticlimactic. So for me, it's incredibly important to build out a presence which is sustainable and it's sustainably adapting to everything that's happening today, because things are changing at rapid paces, as we can see.
Yeah, with AI, everything is changing very quickly, but I'm excited for this session, honestly. And I'm sure the audience will be very excited as well to implement something like this, to have a lifestyle business like you built and also be able to post consistently and having your life together.
Perfect. So I'll begin by sharing my screen and we can get started.
Yeah, sure.
So one of the changes that I have been noticing in this era of content creation during AI has been that information has really started losing its value. So to me right now, what matters more than anything else is packaging. If you have a way for you to take the information that's inside of your brain and then translate it in a way that's attractive for social media, you're going to be way more successful than someone that is just book smart and who has all the facts, all the knowledge, but never knows how to communicate them properly. So for me, it's incredibly important to really push the envelope when it comes down to understanding that social media is no longer a content platform. It's an attention and information platform. So how you package your information is everything. And here I have a really practical example from my own content creation strategy. I made this original post at the end of 2024. It did pretty average, around 16,000 reach on one platform, 1,400 engagement pieces, and around 30 new followers. I didn't really get a lot of non-follower reach, and thus I didn't really have the opportunity to push for new followers. And then I made the exact same post. The only thing that was different in this specific carousel was the cover image and the hook within it. So from what to do and what not to do in design to ugly posts versus viral posts. And this exact content piece reached more than 400,000 people. It got 34,000 interactions and more than 4,500 followers, which to me was a really clear signal that I have something on my hands that could actually start becoming a staple of my profile. So as we can note this is actually part 2 of a series that I created utilizing the exact same information that I actually had shared the previous year, but in a completely unique and different format of comparison, where we have a contrarian takes, do's and don'ts, myths versus reality. And this exact content series actually went on to reach millions of people and get me thousands and thousands of followers. So for me, this was a really, really clear signal that, again, things have changed. In the era of AI, where information is essentially unlimited and AI can actually put it out in seconds, we need to find new ways in order to communicate with our audience. And to me, everything comes down to how you package your ideas. And this, on the other hand, also enables you to repurpose your ideas a lot more effortlessly. So for me, a good content strategy comes down to understanding the differences in the social media platforms. We have social media platforms which are phenomenal for top of the funnel attention. Platforms such as Threads and X are great for testing out and playing that with different copywriting angles, different hooks for your content pieces. And then platforms such as TikTok are great, again, for the video side of things, for the video side of your content creation efforts. These live in the beginning of your funnel. They are your playground. They are there for you to play around and experiment with different angles, different ways to present information. And nowadays, Threads specifically is also great for a variety of content formats, including videos and carousels. So I utilize both of these platforms, X and Threads, to test out and play around with different copywriting angles for my clients. And then we utilize TikTok to play around with a variety of different hooks. Again, we're only changing how we package the information, not the actual information itself. From that point onwards, it's all about repurposing. So whatever specific post we find in the top of the funnel stage that really resonates with our audience, we immediately take it to other platforms and we immediately start playing around with the format of the actual post and with the positioning of the actual post. So for example, we may find out that the quote really resonated with our audience on Threads. So we may take that quote and actually extrapolate it in a whole carousel post later on for Instagram and LinkedIn. then we can also repurpose that content throughout the platforms. So we may create a diagram on Instagram that does really well, and we can say, okay, now it's time to repackage that diagram into a carousel post or into a reel breaking that diagram down. So it's all about how can you become really smart and conscious of the content that you have already created and find different ways to repackage it in different mediums. For me, it comes down to either changing the information, either changing the format, or just changing the time in which you post the specific content piece. I have made the same exact post 6 months apart, and that specific post has still become a really good performing content piece for myself. So again, either change the time, either change the information, or change the way that you present the information, aka the packaging, for a really smart and really consistent content strategy. From that point onwards, everything is pushed to a newsletter. I learned things the hard way after losing my 400,000 Instagram profile at one point. And at that time, I knew the principles behind diversification. I knew that you shouldn't be building a social media kingdom and you should always be building on land that you own, but they hadn't really internalized that. But after losing my Instagram profile, it became a really quick lesson that social media is for big social, it's for top of the funnel, it's for attention, and then you should push people to your own media. And this strategy is really good at that because it enables you to simultaneously build content, test content, analyze content, and then push to a deeper medium, to a place where you actually own your audience. So I actually have some data behind the results that I am sharing and the process that I have shared. So this is data pulled directly from one of my marketing mix reports. So every month or so, I do a marketing mix report in my newsletter where I share exactly what is working and what isn't for my social media presence, as well as what are the results I have been getting. So this is from the month of August, where I have posted 7 posts per week on Instagram, 10 posts per week on Threads, 5 posts on LinkedIn, 2 posts per week on my newsletter, and then I have had a total of 2 collaborations in the month of August. From that point onwards, the results are as follows. For Instagram, we have gained 42,000 new followers with 11.7 million reach. For Threads, it's 10.3 thousand followers with 2.5 million reach. LinkedIn, it's 14,000 followers with 4.2 million reach. And newsletter has gained close to 15,000 subscribers. So it really does go one way to essentially create one content base and then to create a content system that pushes that content around. For me, this has been the key to really building out something which is, as I mentioned in the beginning, lean and mean, because I don't really want to scale indefinitely. I love going on trips with my friends. That's a priority for me. I don't really want to build an 8 or 9 figure business. I want to have random weekend lunches with my wife. I don't really want to spend all day in front of the computer. I want to take my dog on random walks. So for me, again, it's really important to build out a system that's consistent, but consistent with ease. And for those who want to scale, you can absolutely go to the extremes. You can utilize N8N automations to do everything with AI to publish. You can utilize an army of VAs and scale however much you would like. Hormozy spends thousands of dollars on his content systems. You can absolutely do that as well if that's a priority for you in this specific season of your life. For me though, after being in business for close to a decade, I have realized that sustainability is a lot more important than speed. So for me, again, the lean and mean system works, but no matter which camp you are on, if you want a lifestyle business or you want a fucking empire, you can get it done with the strategies that I'm about to share. Now, you need 2 things in order to make this work. You need a minimum viable strategy, which I'm going to share with you how to build out in the next 15 or 30 minutes or so. And then you need a content machine workflow that takes that strategy and applies it in the real world. So for me, when it comes down to the strategy portion, we need 3 main ingredients. We need to understand who our ideal audience is. We need to understand what other people in the market are doing, and we need to understand what makes us stand out. Once we have these three ingredients, which after this quick presentation is over, we're going to go step by step and actually see how we can build out. And I have prepared some resources and templates for you. You can actually build out this one-page content strategy, which I call the content matrix. There you can do pretty much everything. You can define exactly what your goals are for this specific time of your social media strategy. Do you want to attract people, top of the funnel? Do you want to convert them into followers, middle of the funnel? Or do you want to convert them into cash, bottom of the funnel? And based on your specific goals, there are going to be specific content types that actually make sense for you. A content that's meant to go viral and the content piece that's meant to get you money look entirely differently. Then from that point onwards, you have to also define what your content pillars are going to be. Most of the social media platforms work based on tagging your profile with a specific keyword. So once it comes down to, let's say, my profile, people have tagged me and the algorithms have tagged me with the AI in content creation, Instagram growth, LinkedIn growth, organic social media. These are all keywords that I am showing up for. That makes it predictable for the algorithm, so it knows who to recommend me to. And it also makes it predictable for my audience, so they know exactly what they can expect and who they can recommend me to. So your pillars, and then from that foundation, the foundation of your pillars, you can start building up, you can start building your topics, you can start going really granular. So for example, when it comes down to content creation, I can talk about strategy, I can talk about carousels, I can talk about videos, I can talk about growth content, I can talk about sales content. There's all these subtopics within that pillar that I can start talking about and creating content about. Once you get to this level of details, you can also start shifting quite a bit. AI content creation wasn't a thing 3 years ago. People were just getting started with ChatGPT then. I was one of the lucky few that actually started playing around and seeing the potential. So I actually started investing heavily in that and creating content about that. But again, most people weren't. So once you have this information, you can really easily start shifting your priorities as long as you do it with purpose. Then from that point onwards, once you have pillars, once you have your topics, you can start going even more specific into what formats of content are you going to be creating for the different social media platforms. Everyone has been talking about you should be creating more short-form content, you should be creating more video content. I personally am not a fan of that. It's not my thing. I don't really do well on video. I have a thick accent, as you may have noticed. My stage presence on camera is not the best either. I thrive either in real life presentations or when it comes down to copywriting. So because of that, I've combined my strength for design with my strength for copywriting, and I have doubled down on carousels. And that's my own approach. I've worked with hundreds of personal brand owners, and everyone has a unique strength. Everyone has a unique angle. So based on your unique strength, based on the patterns that you're aiming for, and based on what in general you have the resources to create, your content formats should differ. Right now, in 2025, Instagram is in the most balanced state it has ever been. Yes, Reels are generally a tiny bit easier when it comes down to actually building out a non-follow reach for, but carousels are great for both reach and engagement, and that's official information from Instagram's creators profile. So if you're creating content for Instagram in 2025, you can pretty much create whatever you like, and you have relatively equal chances of blowing up, and that has never been the case. On other platforms such as LinkedIn, carousels have been pushed really hard. LinkedIn has been also trying to integrate videos, not successfully. So things are different for each platform, and you have to understand the landscape. You have to understand, as I call it, the language of the platform for you to be able to properly fill out this part of the content matrix. And then we finalize the content matrix with your personality. Especially if you're building out a personal brand, you have to understand that the brand is yourself. Yes, AI can create content for you, but AI cannot think for you. It cannot really create anything from thin air that's truly unique. So if your goal is to become a thought leader in your industry, you have to be thinking, you have to be positioning yourself, you have to leverage what makes you, you. For me, for example, I have a background in computer science. That's what I have majored in. So I utilize that in order to draw a really data-driven approach for social media. I don't really talk about relative tips or tricks and hacks for Instagram that have not been vetted, I always try to provide scientific and data-driven approach for growth. So again, find what makes you you. That's where the big promise comes down to, and then integrate that in your strategy, integrate that in your content. From that point onwards, once you have your minimum viable strategy, the next step is to identify your content workflow. Here, the game-changing information is to realize what are the building blocks of every single content piece. No matter if it's a reel, carousel, or a diagram, you have to really understand what is necessary for you to go from not having a post to publishing a post tomorrow. When it comes down to carousel specifically, you have 5 stages: idea, copy, visual, actual design, and publishing. That's it. Once you understand the stages, you can start building a workflow, you can start building a process out of it. Any other format will have relatively different stages. So let's say if we have a short form vertical video piece, it's still going to have the idea, it's still going to have the scripting, aka the copywriting stages, but it may have recording and editing in the post-production phases rather than gathering visuals and putting them into a specific design language. From that point onwards, once you have identified, okay, I will be creating this specific type of content, this specific format, let's say video content, the next step is to realize and to start mapping out exactly what tools are you going to be utilizing and what assets are you going to be utilizing in order to make the whole workflow easier. This can look like something similar to this. So you have the post idea. You take that after doing some research, let's say with lazy lines, which can help you research competitors. You can start playing around with different proven hooks. You can use ChatGPT for that as well, to take the different hook examples that you have and to start catering them to your own specific industry. You can start writing your copy utilizing Poppy AI, utilizing master prompts or custom GPTs for quality, whatever you prefer. You can then go on the other stage, which is after you have copywriting, you want to copy edit. So you want to trim, you want to optimize. I usually leave a tiny bit of time between writing and editing. You can go on a walk, you can start working on something else, but that will give you a really fresh new perspective on the copy that you have written. And then from that point onwards, it's all about post-production. So for video content, it may mean, okay, I have the script, it's edited, it's ready for me to record in batches, then I can provide it to my video editor. For carousels or for diagrams, you have your copy. It's all about finding the right visual assets, finding how you're going to be communicating it, and then putting it into a finished product and or delegating that portion to a designer. And finally, scheduling. You can utilize tools such as Flick or Iris that are going to be creating a content strategy and scheduling for you, and or you can do it manually, which is the way that I have actually been posting all of my content for the last 5+ years. Each step has a specific solution. Each step of the process also requires you to be mindful and to understand how much of my time am I willing to trade to make it happen. The reality is that, again, I have more than 2,000 posts on Instagram. I would say around 500 to 700 of them are carousels. A single carousel can take between 1 hour, if you're really efficient with your time, to around 3 to 4 hours. In the beginning, carousels took me 8 hours. It's inevitable that you're going to be burning out. And that's what happened to me 3 times before I actually started nailing down this content system. In the first 3 years of my journey, I really vividly remember being stuck at 108,000 followers and saying, okay, this isn't actually worth it. I'm generating all of these leads, I'm growing all of these followers, but my body cannot really sustain it. It got so bad that at one point I was hospitalized. And I was thinking, this is crazy. I'm working 16 hours days and I'm not really being able to enjoy all of the things that I'm building. So again, really mindful that each step is going to want something from you. It's going to be pulling you in that direction. Yeah. And unless in the future we're going to be speaking about what are your non-negotiables, unless it's a non-negotiable, you have to find a way to make it efficient. And this is what we're going to be talking about next, streamlining your workflow. I have created this version of the Eisenhower matrix, but for social media. So you have two axes. One is what is your skill level in the specific task, and the other axis is how much time is that specific task going to take. So if you're really good at something, and if that task doesn't really take a lot of time, you can absolutely obsess over it and you can absolutely do it. For me, that's copywriting. I write all of the content pieces that you see. I write all of the captions that I see. That's my forte. That's something that is non-negotiable for me. It helps me think. It helps me put my thinking into a process. And it is the one thing that I will never outsource. Not to AI, not to a copywriter. Then though, there are going to be other things that may take a lot of time and that you can absolutely delegate, or you can also completely eliminate. One of the most common things that I'm seeing right now on Instagram is people trying to create the perfect Instagram grid, making sure that all of their posts are incredibly consistent, they look good on their profile. And yes, even though that may have some small impact on your ability to convert someone from profile visit to a follower, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Because if your content is good, it's going to mostly live outside of your feed. It's going to live on the Explore page, it's going to live in the home recommendations, it's even going to be pushed outside of the platform. It's going to be shared in WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be viewed in the grand scheme of your profile. So because of that, making sure that your profile grid is symmetrical is an absolute bullshit task that you can completely eliminate from your schedule. And then there are going to be things that you can absolutely delegate. For me, as much as I love graphic design, in the last 2 years, I've completely delegated that. I put final touches, I rework some covers every once in a while, but most of the time, I delegate that completely. And it saves me a massive amount of time. Okay, let's continue. After we have the human element figured out, after we have the obsessive and expressive portion figured out, we need to start looking into what are the non-negotiables, what we mentioned earlier, what are going to be the things that we're going to be dedicating our thought process on, and what are going to be the things that we are going to utilize to express that thought process about. For me, becoming the thought leader is all about investing more time into thinking about your needs, about thinking about solutions for your market than anyone else. So for me, again, when it comes down to the obsessing part, when it comes down to understanding the language of the platform, you cannot outsource that. You cannot hire a VA that tells you, hey, this is currently trending on Instagram, you should do that. It's not a sustainable way to do business. You have to understand what's happening on the platforms. You have to understand how your audience communicates, how their needs evolve, how platforms change. That's one thing that even now, after creating 20,000 content pieces, I still spend every single day around 15 to 30 minutes of my time just scrolling through Instagram with purpose and trying to understand what formats are currently popping off, what creators are gaining traction, what is the current language of the platform. And then from that point onwards, I get motivation. I can go on a walk and I can start thinking about how can I express that information, how can I express these new foundings that I have made, the dots that have been connected in a way that makes sense for myself. Again, as I mentioned earlier, for me, this is copywriting. For others, it may be speaking. They may be recording voice notes. For third people, or for someone else, it may be recording videos. It's up to you, but you have to find two things in your life that are going to be a priority. And for me, this is obsessing and expressing. Find a way to stay up to date and find a way to communicate that. So let's do a quick recap of what we've learned in this presentation, and then let's actually demo this and see how it works in the real world. First, we need to build a content matrix, minimal viable strategy, one-page content plan that is based on what makes us, the big promise, what our competitors are saying, what they are doing, and then what our audience is enjoying. From that point onwards, it's all about implementation. So breaking down content into its building blocks, understanding the type of content that we are creating and what's necessary to go from zero to a published post. And then streamlining that process, looking into ways to delegate, looking into ways for us to focus on specific tasks and then to eliminate or push everything else out of the way. And then finally, obsessing and expressing. Finding ways to stay up to date to what's happening in the grand scheme of things and finding ways to communicate that. And remember, at the end of the day, as powerful as AI is, it cannot save bad taste. You have to continue working on yourself. You have to continue building out your thought process. You have to continue understanding the difference between good and garbage, and between good and great. This has been the presentation. I would love to dive deeper into it. So if any of you have any questions about that, you can send me an email, and I would love to answer some questions right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was awesome. And I 100% agree that AI can't save bad taste. Like, there's so much garbage coming out with AI. So you have to actually, even as a new creator, you have to kind of be able to see the difference. Because otherwise, how are you going to use AI to actually help you in your work? I mean, in your case, you're actually, creating the copywriting yourself because you enjoy that. That's your forte. That's kind of what you do. But maybe for someone else, they will create systems for the writing. But then you have to actually know what is good copy, what is good writing, so you can actually inject your personality. It's very easy to, upload a LinkedIn post to ChatGPT and tell it to replicate it. But how do you know it's good? You need to know that it's good. Yeah, it can have a lot of shares, but it has to actually fit whatever it is that you do and to serve your audience. So yeah, but maybe we can get into some stuff that you can share, like how you implement this, maybe with screen share.
Yeah, absolutely. I have prepared some demo, and I 100% agree when it comes down to understanding the differences between good and bad and AI swap. And for me, AI has really become a passing point. I really enjoy the process of working with ChatGPT is my preferred language learning model, learning and working with ChatGPT in sync in order to make sure that the end product is phenomenal. It has actually been key when it comes down to my editing process. So I really often just send it a final post that I have created, and I ask it, if you had to rate it on a variety scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it and why? And then from that point onwards, it begins a really interesting debate and conversation with someone that actually understands your context and is actually motivated to give you feedback. A lot of the times on social media is this echo chamber where unless you're reaching, I would say 80 to 90% of people who are not following you, it's always going to be positive feedback. And that's really dangerous for a creator because they can start really developing that God complex and thinking, oh, I cannot really make mistakes. And that's bullshit. That actually hinders growth. That stops growth. Whilst with ChatGPT, you can program it in such a way, and most language learning models, you can program it in such a way that it's always going to be roasting you and always going to be pushing you forward. And I think that's incredibly powerful. I think that's a cheat code that a lot of creators have utilized throughout the years, but they have been creating real life communities. So for example, it's well documented that Mr. Beast had created this circle that was obsessively watching videos in order to make sure that they understand what makes them great and then implement that feedback in their own content. So if you can do that same thing, but with AI assistance, that's the optimal way to create content, in my opinion.
Yeah, today you don't really need a big, you might not have a circle of friends around you where you live or something like that.
Or they may not be interested in what you do.
Probably don't have too many people doing what you do. I know when I started out in Sweden like over 10 years ago, now it was 13. It's quite a long time ago. I started like in 2013 online. So there was basically no one selling courses or doing summits and stuff like that. So I had to look online. And there was no AI at that point that you could speak to. But today you can do that. You can tell, I know you wrote that actually that you use a lot of custom GPTs. So then you can actually create this and have a specific purpose. I'm sure you can share a little bit about how you're using that as well for your social media and for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, custom GPTs have been key, and I pretty much create custom GPTs for all of my clients. So we essentially extrapolate first the data. Some of the things and templates that I have prepared for our audience, we essentially go through these exercises with our clients, and then we build a really strong understanding of what makes that client unique. We don't really want to give AI full reign and say, create viral posts for us, because it's never really going to be unique. It's always going to be refurbished garbage. That's how AI swap is born. So you need to really build a well-trained machine, and that's why I utilize custom GPTs. I feed them all of the documentation, between 3 and 5 documents per client for, let's say, the audiences, what makes that client unique selling proposition strong, competitor analysis, and then I feed it some proprietary knowledge. So, for example, from my experience, what makes a carousel go viral? What is the structure of a carousel? And once the GPT has this information with the right prompt, with the right guidance, it can always read the information beforehand, and then it can start producing results. So you can do that for every specific stage of the process. You can have a GPT that's all about ideas.
Anyway, we can, yeah, I 100% agree with you with what you're saying here. Like, you can have a custom GPT for a specific purpose, like for each part of the process, and then you can create that, and it's going to be very specific. I use Claude a lot as well. I really like that. So it doesn't really matter what you use. I think Claude is a little bit better for the writing out of the box.
Yeah.
You can train ChatGPT to do a lot of the work as well. If you have various, and a lot of people, I'm sure you'll get into, they do it wrong. They don't add any instructions. There are many places you can actually add some custom instructions, and there's projects, there's custom GPTs, there's different ways of doing it. So I'm curious to see how you're doing things in your business.
Yeah, and it's also about finding the balance between creating a GPT which is too specific in its task and not knowing how to work as an agent, and then creating something which is too broad and it creates the idea and then it writes the copy and then it corrects itself. So it's all about the balance. For me, what I have found works really well is, again, taking the workflow that I showed earlier when it comes down to creating content, and then creating a custom GPT for each part of the process. So I have one GPT which is all about formats. It's trained, it has in its knowledge a Swag file filled with hundreds of different formats that are proven to work on social media. It understands them, it understands what makes them tick, and then if you put an idea inside of it, it will tell you this idea works really well with, let's say, a split screen do's and don'ts reel. So that's the first part. And then once you connect these GPTs together, you can say, okay, at the end of this prompt, after I approve it, I want you to give me a communication link to the other GPT. So I want you to give me something that I can copy from you and paste into the other GPT, so it has the context that you already have. So the next step is, okay, I have the format, it's now all about the hook. Once I have the format and the hook, it's all about the script. Once I have the copy, the format, and the script, it's all about editing. So that way you can start really layering each part of the process and having a GPT which is specifically trained to do one thing. And for me, that's by far the best way to utilize AI. But yeah, let's dive into some of the processes that I have prepared so we can make this as applicable as possible. I'm going to again share my screen and we can go from there.
It's delayed.
So the first portion, again, if we go back to the presentation, we saw that in order for us to create this content matrix, so we really need three things. We need to understand our audience, we need to understand our competitors, and we need to understand ourselves. I find out that a lot of people have really broad definitions of what they do and what makes them unique. So if I just go randomly and ask an expert that has been creating content and I ask him, okay, what makes your content unique from everybody else's? Most people are going to really struggle. They're going to give an answer such as this one. So let's say, who are you targeting? Well, I'm targeting people interested in fitness. Okay, that's pretty broad, but let's move on. What pain points do these people have? Well, they don't really believe in diets. They think that diets don't work. Okay, I guess that's applicable. What's the transformation? Well, they want to feel good. They want to have more energy. They want to be able to make better decisions. Do you have any urgency to back that up? No, in most cases. What specific obstacle are you trying to play around with? Well, they often repeat the pain point that they're trying to solve for. They don't really understand what makes their methodology unique. And then they have some really vague delivery mechanisms. So their big promise, their unique selling proposition may look something like this. I help people this dieting to get better results and feel good without restrictive meal plans through my guidance and support. Which is so basic. You cannot really create a content strategy based on this. You cannot really create content based on this. You have no clarity. So what we do instead is, and I have an AI prompt that actually helps you transform your old big promise into a new one, and I'm going to be sharing it with our audience, but we gain intimate clarity in every single part of the process. So in terms of audience, we're going to be targeting a specific subset, let's say busy working women. In terms of their pain points, we're going to be tackling the confusing nutritional advice. the guilt, the restrictive rules. In terms of transformation, we're going to be helping people build lasting and guilt-free eating habits. In terms of urgency, we're going to be implying some consequences of staying stuck. In terms of the obstacles that we're going to be removing, we're going to be removing restrictive rules, overhauling their entire lives, and really building something which is personalized and evidence-based. So we end up with something such as, I help busy working women cut through confusing nutritional advice to build lasting guilt-free eating habits without restricting rules or overhauling their entire lives through personalized evidence-based nutritional coaching with mindset support. This now is the foundation that we so much needed in order to build everything else. So we can utilize this to find other people who are speaking about, let's say, guilt or psychology and mindset. We can find other coaches that are speaking based on evidence-based nutrition, and it makes all parts of our process from research to actual execution 1,000 times easier. So this is the first portion. Again, this is the big promise. I follow this really specific framework that I'm going to be sharing with our audience. And then I'm also going to be sharing an AI prompt that is going to help walk you through this process as if I am next to you. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important things that you can do. The next part of the process is the competitive benchmarking. So as I said earlier, taste is everything. You want to be able to understand what is working on social media. So what we do with our clients is we start looking at direct and indirect competitors. Direct competitors pretty easy. So if you're in the fitness niche, you're looking at other fitness profiles. But the reality is that nowadays you're competing with everyone. If social media platforms were in a period of exponential growth and boom in the early 2000s and from 2010 to 2022, right now their user growth is stagnating, especially after COVID. There's just not that many new users these social media platforms can take and add to their user bases. So what's happening is that the demand for content is slowly growing, really slowly growing, whilst the production of content, the supply of content is growing exponentially. And because of that, the attention that is available for everyone to get a hold of is rapidly declining. So you want to not only compare yourself to your direct competitors, because that way you will never build something unique. You want to compare yourself to everyone who is speaking to the same audience. So let's say in the case of our big promise example with busy working women, you want to take a look at all profiles that are catering to this specific sub niche. So it may be cooking profiles, it may be parenting profiles, it may be investment profiles for women. It doesn't really matter. You want to be studying everyone. So again, here I have just provided some examples, but let's say you are creating AI created profile. You're going to be teaching people how to integrate AI in their businesses. Now you want to start asking yourself, okay, what specific channels are these business entrepreneurs consuming, and what are the best posts on these channels and what are the worst posts? Utilizing this data, you can start building a swag file of your own. You can start building a huge library of content pieces that you want to be creating more of and content pieces you want to be creating less of, and then drawing some takeaways. This is incredibly helpful for you and for your custom GPTs, because then once you have this, you can just turn it into a PDF, send it to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to study these viral posts. I want you to help me come up with something similar. And or you can say, okay, I want you to study these bad performing posts and I want you to create the checklists that I can utilize before I publish anything and make sure that it's avoiding these common pitfalls. So again, competitive benchmarking, this is something that I do for my own profile every single day. I do competitive benchmarking, I do research on all of the platforms that I am active on. It doesn't take a while. It may be 5 minutes per day. I may find one post that I'm really inspired by, but that's enough and it stacks. In 1 year, I have hundreds of posts that I can study and apply the lessons from. So competitive benchmarking, incredibly powerful. It's really simple to do. You find a profile that you're interested in. So let's actually say, okay, we're going to be looking at the profile of Joseph. And from that point onwards, the first thing that you want to do is you want to find what is the average engagement of that profile. So we can see on average, Joseph may get between 200 and 400 posts, 400 likes on his content. So now everything that has between 3 and 5x more engagement, here's one, is going to be opened and studied, and then vice versa. Anything that has a really low engagement, such as these testimonials, for example, are also going to be opened and studied. And once you do this for 5-10 profiles, both in your niche and outside of your niche, you're really quickly going to start seeing just how powerful this is. So you start going through the post, you start analyzing it, you start looking at what made this successful and what didn't make it. You start reading the comments, because the comments really often review the answers that you're seeking. And from that point onwards, you already start creating a database for yourself. I actually have a newsletter which focuses exactly on this. So every single week I highlight a viral post in different niches that has gone viral, and they explain why it has worked and what you can start applying for yourself. You want to do the same thing, but your own customized version of it. From that point onwards, again, you have your takeaways. These are direct takeaways you can take to your own content and information that you can start utilizing for your custom GPTs. So this should now answer the big promise portion and the competitive benchmarking portion of our minimum viable strategy. Do you have any questions for me before we continue?
No, this is very clear, honestly. I mean, this is kind of what you do. Like for anything, really, you need to do competitive analysis for anything you do, any business, or I mean, that's the same for Instagram or any platform. Like even for virtual events, whatever you do, you need to know what's out there in order to see how you can do it better, how you can put your spin on it and stuff like that. I think it's very good.
Yeah, and for me, it's also all about learning from outside niches, because if you only understand your niche, you're going to be falling behind in the landscape. Now, marketing is generally something that moves quite quickly. Marketing profiles generally are the first to catch trends and implement them. But even then, you may be missing out on, let's say, what's working on YouTube. You may be missing out on what's working on Threads. You may be missing out. I recently found this really cool profile on Instagram, which is utilizing only AI-generated single image diagrams, and it's absolutely blowing up. And it's in the cooking niche. I would have never found this profile if I wasn't actively looking. Yeah, and this is entirely AI-generated. The cool thing is that this creator used to create videos, and she was stuck when it comes down to her growth. And then she started creating these AI-generated diagrams 6 months ago, and she has been blowing up. And again, this is now something I can implement in marketing. I can implement in a variety of channels. So again, you want to spread your wings and really make sure that you understand your competitors, because when others are zigging, you want to be zagging, but also make sure that you understand the overall landscape on the platforms. So again, this should give us clarity on competitive benchmarking and our big promise. But the next step is your ideal audience profile. I personally am a big fan of Reddit. I utilize Reddit in my free time as well. That's the only social media platform that I actually use. And because of it, I do most of my research on Reddit as well. This works really well for big profiles, for big niches as well. So what I do is I do these, it looks complicated, but it really isn't, a really detailed Google search, which essentially is searching for the word gym owner in Reddit with these specific keywords involved. So for example, frustration, challenges, issues. So what happens is that once you put your keywords, or let's say nutrition, you will find these subreddits in which people are talking about all of their issues and challenges with nutrition. So this is a really good way for you to then take this information. So what I do is I go to these Reddit pages, I click Control P, and I then just save it as a PDF, which I feed to a ChatGPT with this custom prompt. So here are all the PDFs that I have taken from Reddit. I feed it all of that information, and then it spits out a really detailed pain point analysis for my audience, utilizing their specific quotes, which to me is incredibly powerful, because once you learn how to write copy that sounds exactly like your audience, and once you can really communicate their problems better than they can, it is a game changer when it comes down to conversions. So I find all of these pain points for my audience from Reddit. I summarize them in a ChatGPT agent like this. And then I utilize a tool. There are a bunch of tools out there. HubSpot has one which is called Make My Persona. And utilizing this tool, I create my own audience persona that looks something like this. I have my demographic information, I have a short bio, I have quotes, again, that I will pull directly from Reddit. What are the pain points? What are the motivations of this person? Again, it's a game changer when you have clarity, because most people are stuck with consistency, not because they don't really have the willpower, it's because they don't have clarity on exactly what they need to be creating, who they're competing with, and who they are speaking with. But once you get this clarity, it becomes so much easier. If you want to, and this is something that I actually did early on, I literally printed out a picture of my ideal client, one of the people that I was working on in the beginning of my agency. I printed out the picture, I put it on my desktop, and every single time that I was creating a post for Instagram, I was looking at the picture and I was asking myself, would Josh really like this post that I was creating? Would this be helpful to Josh? And again, once you know what Josh looks like from a demographic point of view, from a psychographic point of view, it becomes so much easier to create content. And again, it's as easy as going on Reddit, searching for specific pain points. You don't even have to read them yourself if you don't enjoy consuming Reddit. You can go and create a summary from ChatGPT, and then utilizing that, you can go and put off that information into HubSpot Persona Builder. So at the end, you're going to have something like this, which then again, you can utilize to train your custom GPTs. So now you have your big promise, you have your competitive benchmarking, and you have your audience persona. So you can utilize this, feed your GPTs, and create a content matrix strategy for you. Again, I will list all of these resources. I will list all of the AI prompts that I'm utilizing at each step in a document that everyone can get access to after the session is over.
Awesome. This is super valuable. And I think before we wrap up, I don't know if you had anything else to share there, but I think the audience would like to know some Instagram tips. For the consistency, you have covered it, but like in terms of growing from zero, like what would be your best strategies, like the first 1,000 to first 10,000?
It doesn't really matter if you're scaling from 0 to 10,000 or 10,000 to 100,000. You need clarity on two things. How many people are going to be consuming your content, so traffic? And then how many people are going to be converting from that traffic to followers? These are the two KPIs, the two metrics that you want to have clarity on. The first one is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel based. So how many people are you reaching with your content? How many people are visiting your profile after you have reached them? And what's the split between follower and non-follower reach? Because it doesn't really matter if you have 10 million reach in the last 30 days, if all of these 10 million followers people are already followers of yours. So top of the funnel, non-follower versus follower ratio, and reach. Middle of the funnel, profile visits. These are all metrics, by the way, that you can check in your Instagram dashboard. You don't need any third-party tools. And then from that point onwards, you have top of the funnel reach, which is converting into middle of the funnel profile visits. So someone is seeing your content, then they're visiting your profile. And then you want to measure what's the ratio between people seeing your content, seeing your profile, and then converting into a follower. So usually, if you have 1 million reach, you should be aiming for around 80% non-follower reach. So that means 8 in 10 people who you have reached through your content have not been following you yet. If you have a ratio which is below that, that means that Instagram isn't actively promoting your content. Then the second portion of the KPIs that you want to track is the profile visits. So from the accounts that you're reaching, or enough people actually interested in your content that they want to learn more, that they want to see another content piece of yours. So for example, for pages that are creating really only news-related events, that are covering news, that are posting memes, these pages don't really usually build out a sustainable audience. They don't really build a loyal audience unless people are there for the content piece and they're not there for the actual information. They're not there for the actual profile. They don't really care if they get their news from profile A or profile B. So you need to track the ratio between reach to profile visits. Usually you want to be aiming for 1 to 10. So for example, if you have 10 reach, you want to convert that into 1 profile visit. And the last piece is your follower conversion rate. So from the profile visits, from the people who have seen your profile, how many have actually followed you? Now, you can really nerd out and go super specific and say, okay, how many of the people who have visited my profile are also non-followers? And then based on that non-follower profile visit, calculate your follower conversion rate. It doesn't really matter as long as you stick to one specific formula at a time. So either a non-follower profile visit or profile visits. So then you take, let's say, followers, divide that by your profile visit number, and you'll get a percentage. So for example, if you have 1,000 followers and 10,000 profile visits, that's a 10% conversion rate. Now, when it comes down to a benchmark for tracking this conversion rate, you should be aiming for at least 20% conversion rate. So from someone viewing your profile to someone converting into a follower, it should be around 2 in 10 people. My conversion rate is between 35 and 40%. If you utilize performance marketing, which I don't, so if you boost your content, it's generally a tiny bit higher. And if you have some viral posts recently, it's also a tiny bit higher. But in general, again, 20% follower conversion rate. So once you understand how this funnel works, then the only question, no matter how many followers you get, is how do I get more traffic and how do I increase my conversion rate? That's it. It doesn't really, nothing else matters. Everything else can be eliminated. So when it comes down to traffic, yes, you can optimize hashtags. Yes, you can optimize your posting time. Yes, you can collaborate with others. Yes, you can use trial videos. The truth is that the only thing that matters is content. 80% of your traffic is going to be coming from Instagram recommending your content in the different recommendation channels. They have home recommendations, explore page recommendations, suggested for you list for profile recommendations, as well as search optimization. So all of these different optimizational agents comes down to your content quality. And then content quality, what does that really mean? Well, that's incredibly subjective, and that's a topic for another masterclass. But again, it really does come down to understanding that you need only traffic and you need conversions. Your traffic is going to be coming from content, and then your conversions are going to be coming from your profile quality, content quality, and traffic quality. That's pretty much it in order to grow from 0 to 1 million, 2 million, however many millions of followers you would like to achieve.
And for the promotion of the content, you use ManyChat a lot, right? To get the lead magnets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because if you have a viral piece of content, you want to get them onto your email list.
Yes.
That's kind of the last piece to connect, basically connect more with your audience and followers.
Exactly. You can go really deep with ManyChat, honestly. I have been utilizing it ever since it was a tool for Facebook giveaways. So ManyChat is a godsend. And honestly, it's a tool that enables you to essentially deepen relationships. I have utilized it for lead magnet email collection. I have utilized it to get people to ask me questions. So you can use the Q&A sticker on Instagram stories, yes, but you can also get people to actually reply to your story with their question. And then you can get ManyChat to export all of these replies to a Google Sheet. Then that Google Sheet you can actually feed into a ChatGPT agent and train that agent to answer these questions for you, and or to just understand more about your audience pain points and suggest, let's say, hooks for your next content pieces. So ManyChat is really versatile. I have been utilizing it for everything from questionnaires and really making sure that I only speak with the leads that, for example, for my coaching service that makes sense, or for lead generation for building my 50,000 email list. It's all through ManyChat.
Awesome. You have shared so much value in this session here. So if you're watching and you're going to take action on this, let us know in the comments. And where can people connect more with you? I mean, you are on Instagram, obviously. Is that the best way to connect more with you? And also we will link up your resource so they can access all the stuff we talked about today.
Absolutely. I would say newsletter is the best way. Instagram is crazy. LinkedIn is also crazy. And Threads is crazy. These are the 3 social media platforms I am on. Combined, I receive around 10,000 DMs on social media every single week. So it's not something I can really keep up with. But my newsletter, I have made it a rule for myself. Everyone who replies to my newsletter, I reply back to. So the best way to connect with me is to sign up to my newsletter and then send me a message that way. And in the meantime, you're going to find yourself in really good company. As I mentioned, 50,000 people have already joined. And every single week, they get a viral post breakdown, a marketing tool recommendation, and a complete profile analysis for Instagram. So I choose a subscriber from the email list that I take their profile and they completely audit it. I create a new content strategy for them, new profile strategy for them. Essentially what my clients are paying me thousands to do, I do for free every single week for one subscriber.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. Do you have any final words to the audience, or anything they should take action if they implement something from this session and get a small win? What should they do?
For me, it's most wins on social media or mindset wins. Honestly, especially nowadays, it doesn't really matter what information you have to share. It's all about packaging that information. And with AI, it's really easy to start believing that what you have to say doesn't really matter, and AI can just magically make everything go viral. For me, it comes down to understanding that, again, AI cannot really save bad taste, and AI is going to replace generic content, not human content. So if in the first place your content is something you're fearful that AI may make redundant, it means that it hasn't been human to begin with. So start really pondering how can you create content which feels really deeply intertwined with what your audience is looking for, what makes you, and what stands apart from competition, and you will have a much easier time on social media. Again, especially once you start gaining clarity on these three elements. So thank you so much for paying attention, and I hope that the resources I'm about to share will come in handy. And if you have any other questions, join my newsletter, send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to answer.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hrabren, for coming on here. You share so much value, and I'm sure the audience will love some of the resources and start implementing this to post consistent using AI on social media. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.